So we're less than a minute away.
So we missed the luncheon this year.
We have some clips for you this evening.
Oh, do you? Okay.
You'll have to come back next year with your husband, like we've been saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, those kids are so great. It's just so inspiring to hear them.
I like your headset, Bob.
Which Bob?
You.
Thank you.
You didn't have that last month, did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. It looked new to me.
Got no YouTube, so.
Hello, Dennis Tiger here.
Hello, Dennis. We're just waiting. Okay, we are now live on YouTube, so we can begin the meeting. All right, so tonight we're going to start as with honoring our sports teams and our special education program. So it's as if we were running a special meeting, our usual meeting where we had the ceremony at 7 p.m. before the formal meeting started. So Mr. DeChico, do we have to do anything formal at this point?
No, I believe we're starting the formal meeting at 7:30.
Okay. All right. So welcome, everyone. Very pleased that tonight we will be recognizing several of our champions, our field hockey team and our winter track team. Those recognitions had been scheduled for March, but that meeting was the first time we had moved to the remote mode. So we're pleased that Mr. Pico was able to work with the coaches and the athletes and put together a virtual presentation. And then after that, Dr. Roth will introduce our special education program that we're going to be presenting tonight as well. Now, Mr. Smart is going to run all the videos for us. So if Mr. Smart, if you're ready, we could start with our athletic champions. Videos, please.
Good evening, board. I come to you tonight with another championship team. This program is no stranger to the Board of Education. This is their 21st consecutive year being honored by the Board of Education. I'm talking about the Eastern Girls Field Hockey Team. Coach Heilig and her players are a well-oiled machine that strive for a high level of success, and this year is no different. The team ended the season as Group 4 state champions with a record of 23-2. This team raked in many accolades, from Olympic Conference Player of the Year to 3 All-State team first teamers, 2 second-team All-State teamers, and numerous first-team All-Conference players. And in addition, a coach that is second to none in the field hockey community. Although we hope to see these girls again next year for another championship, we will not see Coach Heilig. With Coach Heilig's announced retirement, this will be her last year. Board, I present to you the unbelievable 21-year straight Group 4 state champions, the Eastern Girls Field Hockey Team, and their coach, Coach Danielle Heilig.
I would first like to say thank you to the board for taking the time to honor the girls and the coaches for everything that we do as a group. I want to thank administration for their continued support, especially Mr. Pico, our new athletic director, who has been invaluable for us. We did lose a beat when it came to our leadership in that regards. It was an outstanding year, as Mr. Pico said. Winning a 21st state championship was phenomenal. I think this team played arguably the toughest schedule any Eastern Field Hockey team has played. And they had an unbelievable year, ending number 2 in the nation in 2 separate polls, beating countless outstanding teams and state champions from other states. I'd like to say a special thanks to our seniors. We had an outstanding senior class who all contributed to the success of our program. Every senior is continuing the game of field hockey at the collegiate level, which is just outstanding. And I would like to give a quick shout out to our lone freshmen, numerous sophomores, and a handful of juniors, all who are going to have an incredible impact on the future of the program. Very strong kids that are going to be rising up through the program, carrying on the tradition of Eastern Field Hockey. Although I will not be there in the fall, I know they're going to be super successful. I've thoroughly enjoyed my 21 years at the leadership role. I will miss it tremendously, but I know the girls will do very well, and I do believe change is good. And I'm sure that there will be some good changes this fall. Thank you so much for taking the time to honor us. We appreciate all of your support.
Evening, board. I have another championship team to present to you tonight. When I refer to a team, I'm referring to 4 amazing young women that have leaned on each other to earn a winter track state championship. These 4 young women have earned 2 individual state championships and 1 relay state championship. Along with these 4 student athletes, we also are here with our amazing and dedicated coaches, Coach Tangeman, Coach Barry Jackson, and Coach Ed Malone. Board, I present to you these 4 state champion young women from the Eastern Girls Winter Track Team and their coach, Coach Ed Malone.
Thanks, Mr. Pico. To start, I'd like to thank the Eastern High School administrators and members of the Board of Education for inviting us here to recognize the accomplishments of our girls. Next, I'd like to recognize and thank my assistant coaches, Mike Tangeman and Barry Jackson, for being here and for all the great work that they've done with the girls over the past few years. All right. And then, like you said, with us, we have 4 very special and talented young ladies. Jayla Ash, wait, please. Jewel Ash, Noelle Scott, and Ariana Tate. All right, so fortunately for us, our team, we were able to complete our entire indoor season before the closing of schools due to the current pandemic. All said and done, I think that we enjoyed a successful season, included some fantastic record-breaking times and some title-capturing performances. I will start by recognizing first our State Group 4 Hurdle Relay Championship team. Okay, so with that, there's a little story. This is the third, I have to mention, this is the 3rd year in a row that our girls and Coach Jackson have captured this title. And in the previous 2 years, Jayla, Jewel, and Noelle were all on the hurdle squads that have won the title. This year, Coach Jackson was short a fourth runner and had to find and train another girl to compete on his squad. So Ariana Tate, who's a very athletic middle distance runner and has a lot of ability, became that person. She worked hard with Coach Jackson, put in a lot of extra time, and became the needed hurdler. So on the day of the state relay championship meet, Noelle, Jayla, and Jewel, who are and have been three of the very best hurdlers in the state of New Jersey for the past 3 years, took an inexperienced Ariana Tate, who had only run the hurdles one other time in the meet prior to this meet. All right. So they walked her to the line, relaxed her, gave her some needed encouragement, and 35 seconds later, Eastern High School girls had won another Group 4 state championship hurdle relay title. All right. So ladies, congratulations for that. I can only tell you that I don't think anybody will ever forget, what we were thinking prior to that it was going to be impossible to win that title again with only 3 kids, and then to put it all together and turn around and win it again. It's pretty incredible. So congratulations. So moving on from that day, the girls continued to work hard and in meets and practices, prepare for sectionals and the future sectional and state championship meets. All right. Weeks later, at the Group 4 sectional championship meet, Jewel Ash, Wave Jewel, had an amazing day for us. She won 2 individual South Jersey Group 4 titles. She won the 400-meter dash, and for the second, that was her second year in a row winning that. And she also won the 55-meter hurdles, where she just edged out her sister Jayla. And I have to add that Jayla just returned from a back injury. She took second place at that meet. And together they moved on to the state championship meet a few weeks later. Later, at the Group 4 sectional championship meet, Jewel had an amazing day for us. She won 2 individual South Jersey Group 4 titles. She won the 400-meter dash for the second consecutive year in a row, and she also won the 55-meter hurdles, where she just edged out her sister Jayla, who had just returned to us to competition from a back injury. All right. Jayla in that meet took second place to move on to the state championships with her sister a few weeks later. So on we go to the Group 4 state championship meet. At that meet, Jayla and Jewel were both completely prepared and focused on winning individual and Group 4 state titles. Jewel won the 400-meter dash for the second year in a row, and Jayla won the 55-meter hurdles to capture her first indoor individual track and field title. After that, the girls moved on together again to the New Jersey Meet of Champions competition, where they both ran personal best times. Jewel ran an indoor personal time in the 400 meters, and she also ran a new school record time in the 200-meter dash to take 5th place in both of those races. Jayla also ran extremely well. She set a new school record in 55-meter hurdles and became the Meet of Champions, the Meet of Champions champ for all groups. As a result of their outstanding individual performances throughout the entire winter season, both Jayla and Jewel were both selected to this year's All-South Jersey team. So for their accomplishments, ladies, congratulations, Jayla and Jewel. Again, I would like to congratulate the girls this season and thank you all for recognizing them today. Let me sum it up again for you. Your honored guest today, Ariana Tate, state champion in the shuttle hurdle relay, extremely talented and versatile middle distance runner, high jumper, and now hurdler. I have to note that she was selected by the coaches this year as a recipient of the team's Unsung Hero Award. Ariana has one more year left with us, and we hope that she will continue to work hard and improve so we can bring her back to this meeting again next year. All right. And our next girl, we have Jayla Ash, state champion in shuttle hurdles, 3rd year in a row, including this year, 55-meter hurdles, third place at this year. She was third place at Group 4 sectionals. She was the Group 4 state champion. Group 4 state champion, and she was also the Meet of Champs champion for all groups. She was selected to the first team All South Jersey by the South Jersey Track Coaches Association for the past 2 seasons. She has earned several indoor and outdoor titles. She now has school records in the 55-meter hurdles, the 60-meter hurdles, the 100-meter hurdles, the 400-meter relay, the shuttle hurdle relay, and the sprint medley. I hope I didn't forget it. Jayla will also be back with us next year, and we hope that, again, we'll have her back at this meeting in person, perhaps. Okay, next we have Noelle Scott. Noelle Scott is also a 3-time state champion in the shuttle hurdles, including this year. Indoor track team, she has school records in shuttle hurdle relay and the shot put relay. She's one of the most versatile athletes that we've seen over the past 4 years at Eastern. She has participated in several events, including sprints, hurdles, relays, shot put, discus, triple jump, long jump, and the pole vault. Noelle will continue her track and field career on a track and field scholarship at Rider University next year. And last but not least, again, Jewel Ash, state champion in the shuttle hurdle relay for the 3rd year in a row, including this year. South Jersey Group 4 champion in 400 meters for the 2nd consecutive year. Group 4 state champion in 400 meters for the 2nd consecutive year. 5th place in the Meet of Champions in the 400 and 200 meter dash this year. Several outdoor championship titles over the past 4 years. Indoor and outdoor track and field school records that include shuttle hurdles, 400 meter hurdles, 4x100 meter dash, 200 meter dash, and sprint medley. Jewel was also selected as first team All South Jersey by the South Jersey Track Coaches Association this year, and actually for the past 2 years for both indoor and outdoor seasons. All right. Jewel will continue her track and field career next year at Charleston Southern University. To close, I would like to thank the parents of all of our kids for everything they do and help to make our seasons possible. Without them, none of this would be possible. I would also like to take a minute to recognize and thank our seniors for all their hard work and dedication over the past 4 years. I've already mentioned Noelle Scott and Jewel Ash. I'd like to also put a note out there to Artie Bala, who will be attending Rutgers Camden in the fall. Samantha Ty, who will attend Bloomsburg University and run track and cross country. And Kirsten Clem, who will be attending Stockton University, and she will also run track and field across country. All right. Thank you very much. We like to wish all of our seniors all the happiness and success that life has to offer, and we'll miss you. Thank you very much.
At this time, Dr. Roth, do you want to say something before your video?
I need to turn my mic on. There we go. Good evening, everyone. May is designated as Special Education Month, and we designate a Special Education Student of the Year. So I was able to bring you a video of us announcing that virtually to Mr. Cole McNeil, who was our Special Ed Student of the Year, and his family. And then he has prepared a speech for the board. Shortly after that is our portions of our virtual job coaching luncheon that we were unable to hold this year, but we did do a virtual rendition of it so that all our businesses can still log on and we can still show our appreciation for all the staff and our businesses in the community that help us throughout the year. I would like to thank the board again for always supporting all of our programs and our initiatives, and also our staff in the job coaching program, who this year, as I said in the speech that was probably edited, that some people saw remote learning as a real challenge, and our job coaching staff saw our remote learning for our job coaching students as an opportunity. They saw it as an opportunity to allow the students to learn technology and how to use it in the workplace, and also how to use it responsibly. So I did share some of the emails I received today from parents in the job coaching program commending the staff for a job well done in terms of remote learning. So sit back and enjoy the video, and thank you again. Mrs. Singley has something that she would like to share with you that is very exciting. And I wanted to come on to meet your mom and dad and see you because I haven't seen you in a while. So Mrs. Singley, would you please the announcement?
So Cole has been chosen as Special Education Student of the Year.
Oh my gosh! Oh, congratulations, bud! Good job! Wow, that is great!
Hello, my name is Paul McNeil. I'm in 10th grade at Easton. Parents are David and Teresa McNeil. I would like to thank the Board of Education for honoring me with the Life Skills Student of the Year Award. While at Easton, I have enjoyed sporting events, especially football games. This year, I helped out the rest of the team by making posters and taking pictures. My favorite subject in school is math. When I'm not in school, I like to ride bikes, go swimming, and play Minecraft. I am a big music fan and I like to listen to country, hip-hop, and rock. I even do loop buying concerts, and when I get older, I want to be a sports announcer. Ow.
Job coaching luncheon speech. Hi, my name is Abdullah. In job skills this year, I did deliveries, I cleaned a spin room, I cleaned a weight room. I went to the athletic trainer's room. I wiped down the chairs, I wiped down the seats, and I also cleaned the desks in room 64. I also cleaned the desks in room 17. This is my job coaching luncheon speech for today, and I hope that you enjoyed it.
Hello, my name is Desmond. I job coach at the Virtual Fitness Center. When I job coach at the fitness center, I work with Devin, Miss Diana, and Zach. My jobs are wiping equipment, folding towels, and helping in the kitchen. When I job coach at the Hampton Inn, I work with Ahuda, Caesar, and Shasha. My jobs I do are vacuuming, stocking, and linens. My favorite part of job coaching is working with my coworkers and my friends. Thank you for working with me. I love working with you guys. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Aaron. I job coach at Inquiring Minds Learning Center. When I job coach at Inquiring Minds, I work with Ms. Donna and Ms. Shannon. My jobs are clean and cook toys, read books to the kids, and help with art projects. When I go job coach at Wawa, I work with Carly and Michael. My jobs are clean the coffee station, sweep the floor, and stock cups. My favorite part of job coaching is working with the staff. Thank you for working with me.
Hi, my name is Hannah. This is my first year at the job coaching program at Eastern Regional High School. This year, I job coach at Acquiring Minds Daycare Center and Lionsgate Assisted Living Center. When I job coach at Acquiring Minds, I work with Miss Shannon and Miss Samira. And the things that I do there are playing with the kids, reading books to the kids, and doing arts and crafts with the kids. I also job coach at Lionsgate Assisted Living Center with Miss Kathy and Miss Julie. The things that I do there are watering the plants, exercising with the residents, and interacting with the residents. My favorite part of the job coaching is doing circle time with the kids and doing arts and crafts with the residents. Thank you for working with me.
Hello, my name is Jade. I job coach at Lionsgate Assisted Living and Acquiring Minds Learning Center. When I job coach at Lionsgate, I work with Miss Kathy and Miss Julie. My jobs are helping the residents with activities, wheeling the residents to different areas, made blankets for the homeless. When I job coach at Inquiring Minds, I work with Miss Shannon and Miss Julia. My jobs are cleaning up after the kids, wiping down tables, lining up the kids to go outside. My favorite part of job coach is interacting with different people. Thank you for working with me.
Hi, my name is Julian. I job coach at Lionsgate, at Wawa Lionsgate, and when I job coach at Wawa Route 83, I work with Nicole and Joe, and my jobs are to work in the freezer, check the creamers to see they are low and high, and wipe the top of the drink machines. When I job coach at Lionsgate, I work with Kathy and Julie, and I help senior citizens with the trivia, and watering the plants and making hot chocolate. My favorite part of job coaching is working around in the freezer stock of drinks. Thank you for working with me.
Hi, my name's Julia. I worked in the job coaching program. I also worked at Lionsgate. I worked with Miss Kathy and Miss Julie. When I worked at Lionsgate, I helped bake on Wednesdays and I interacted with the residents. I helped wheel the residents into different areas. Why do I like job coaching? I like job coaching because I like to help be with my friends and go out on the JEE.
Hello, my name is Matthew. I job coach at TJ Maxx and Wawa on 73. When I job coach at TJ Maxx, I work with Daija, Donna Jo, Miss Hillman, and Miss Wood. My jobs are at TJ Maxx are to open the plastic and take out the purses and clothes. I also zip up and organize the coats that are out on the sales floor. Sometimes I even organize the shoes that are on the racks. My favorite part of working at TJ Maxx is opening up the plastic and taking the clothes and purses out. When I work at Wawa on 73 with Nicole, Audrey, Terry Jo, Miss Hillman, and Miss Johnson. My jobs at Wawa are to clean and organize the coffee station. I also wipe down the donut cases and order screens. My favorite part of working at Wawa on 73 is when I get to order lunch there. I am able to use some of my job skills at home. Now like wiping down the counters. Thank you for working with me, and I miss all of you. I can't wait to come back.
Hi, my name is Rafael Antonikakis. I am a senior at Eastern Regional High School. On Tuesdays, I work at Salvito's Pizza. At Salvito's, I fill pizza boxes. In my job skills class, I deliver papers to teachers. I also clean the equipment in the weight room. I also shred. I shred papers in a shredder. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Smart, for playing the videos. Absolutely wonderful. We have so many wonderful students in programs that are consistently spectacular every year. So to the special education department for the luncheon and the life skills program, the job skills program, just fantastic every year. And then our athletes, as you heard in the presentation, we've been recognizing so many of them since they've been here as freshmen and sophomores and juniors. It sounded like a good number of them are returning. So our track athletes, we've recognized now for 3 or 4 years for being champions in a row. And our field hockey team, of course, under legendary coach Heilig. So we are very fortunate to have these programs and these athletes, and just wonderful. So Terrific. All right, so at this time, we are approaching 7:30. So I am going to hit the record button for our formal meeting to begin.
Okay.
Please, Mr. Chico.
Meeting come to order, please. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Eastern Camden County Regional School District has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the 3 municipal buildings of the constituent districts, in the board secretary's office, and notification forwarded to the Courier Post and the Philadelphia Inquirer. Would you please rise for a flag salute? Mrs. Schiraldi, would you lead it?
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to the
to the
flag
flag
To the
of
flag
the United
of the
United
States of America
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic for which it
stands,
stands,
one nation, under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty and justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Brown?
Present.
Mr. Brown, oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mrs. Chow?
Here.
Mrs. David? Mrs. David? Mr. Dykert?
here.
Mrs. Gar? Gotcha.
Here.
Mrs. Gar?
Here.
Mrs. Parker?
Here.
Mr. Paul?
Here.
Mr. DeChico?
Here. May I have a motion to approve our minutes from the May 20th regular meeting and executive session
So
and the
moved.
June 3rd special meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Chow?
Yes.
Mrs. David?
Yes.
Mr. Dykert?
Yes.
Mrs. Paul? Or Mr. Dykert? Mrs. Gar?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. DeChico?
Yes. Communications. Ms. Schiraldi.
No communications. I did give you a copy of a letter from our BCIP GIF, though, showing that we had earned a safety incentive award. And so it's always nice to have some free money.
Always.
Mhm.
Superintendent.
It's the best kind.
Yep.
All right, so there were no HIB cases to report. Otherwise, much of our efforts since the last board meeting have been focused on planning our graduation events. Last week, beginning actually 2 Saturdays ago to this past Saturday, conducted photo opportunities on the stadium. We had approximately 370 families come through the stadium to be able to take pictures on the field. We had replicated the graduation, so that went extremely well. And for the most part, we had great weather except one day, but we did have a rain date when we were washed out. So great event. And as part, we recorded the students walking from the trestle to the stage, and that will be shown tomorrow afternoon beginning at 3 p.m. So we'll have a virtual procession beginning tomorrow at 3 p.m. We also have an on-campus car parade, so the students with parents will be coming to the campus at 1 p.m. for our staff members and our board members and our dignitaries to join in one final congratulations and applause to end the school year for our seniors. And then before that, beginning in the morning, we have many volunteers, staff members, and board members and dignitaries who will be participating in delivering the diplomas to students in the morning. And at the last moment, we did make arrangements where also the project graduation gifts will be going out to our students tomorrow as well. All the students except those who had chosen curbside pickup, which will occur on Thursday. So lots of different events, and certainly lots of work on finishing the academic year as well remotely. Also, the state of New Jersey last week issued some guidance for resuming student programs in July. So that was issued on Friday. So we'll be analyzing that information with Governor Murphy ending the stay-at-home order. We will also be welcoming back our employees, our 12-month employees will be coming back on campus on June 22nd. And then as we have different programs over the summer, which is part of being approved for this year, we'll have those occurring during the summer as well. There are some stringent guidelines that have to be followed, but we are looking forward to a good number of our programs returning this summer. There is still no specific information about sports resuming, but the NJSIAA has been meeting, and there is supposed to be some guidance coming out soon concerning the resumptions of sports potentially in the near future. Also, we will be forming some reopening. So I'll send out a notice tomorrow, and then next week we'll begin to form some committees. By early July, we'll be involving our students and our parents and our staff in discussions over reopening, the different strategies that have been proposed for reopening, given whatever the circumstances are. So there's been lots of information coming out, especially at the end of last week, about tackling reopening and different strategies there. So that will be a very busy July planning those efforts for September. Thank you.
Okay. Diana, do you have anything for school business?
Yes, just a couple of things. I mentioned at the last meeting the funding from the federal government, the Funding CARES grant, Education Stabilization Fund, and Dr. Borda and I had worked on submitting that application. And our funding allocation was $110,246, and we submitted that, and it was approved in one day. So that was really surprising. We allocated $100,000 to technology for the remote learning, and then $10,000 to PPE equipment. So we're real thrilled with that. I wanted to just mention also that we haven't heard anything yet about any reductions in our district state aid. There was one announcement made by the state, but that did not affect our district because our district already received a reduction due to the S2 funding. And so since our aid was already reduced, we kind of skirted that first round of cuts. So we are waiting to hear some additional information regarding funding for next year. But in the interim, Dr. Cloutier and Mr. Cloutier and I have been working on possible reductions in next year's budget in order to offset any reduction in state aid. So we've been not filling positions that come open. And right now we have 6 unfilled positions. So we are kind of waiting on filling those positions until we hear about state aid. And then some of the budgeted expenses that we have in next year's budget, some of those things we've been trying to purchase with the current year budget, like the teacher laptops were in there, and we were able to take those out of this year's budget. So, you know, it's those kind of things that we are trying to plan for any possible reductions. The school board petitions for school board candidates are due by July 27th at 4 o'clock in the county clerk's office. We do have 3 positions available this year, 2 seats in Voorhees and 1 in Berlin. So just want to remind everybody of that deadline. And then I did want to report that, I'm not sure if you heard, but we have one of our school buses was vandalized in the parking lot by the tennis courts. It was one of the old band buses. Remember that we have the 2 blue band buses? And we actually were planning on getting rid of those shortly, but one of them was vandalized. And so we did report it to our insurance company, and they ended up totaling the vehicle. But it was a 1998 school bus. And so we are going to get some insurance money for that. So, and that's all I have to report, Mr. Uchiga.
Thank you. Gail, Scholar of the Month.
Consider the recommendation to adopt a resolution recognizing the selection of Luke Majetti as Scholar of the Month for June 2020. Luke is so recognized for his academic achievement, commitment to athletics and extracurricular programs, and good school citizenship.
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Mr. Katir, do you want to run the student reps also at the same time?
Yes. Mr. Smart, if you're available to run the video, please.
Yep. Oops.
Good evening.
Mr. Katir and board, this seems to be that I have the May one queued up and not the June. Let me see if I can try to find that and bring that up, but I can't find that in my drive right now. Do you mind if we go on, and when I get that, I'll let you guys know and we can go back to that?
Your mic is off, Rob.
Thank you. I believe I was able to find it from what Mr. Catania sent us. So let me see if I can bring it up.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have the distinct pleasure to present the Scholar of the Month for the month of June 2020, Mr. Luke Majet. All right, and he's visiting us tonight virtually with his parents, Mimi and Thomas Majet, and his little sister, Leah. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this young man's current list of academic courses. He is in the Select Chorales Honors, AP Physics C, AP Spanish, AP Literature and Composition, AP Calculus BC. He's also in TV Media 1, as well as Health and PE. Some of his prior courses includes being a member of the concert choir, the Select Honor Choir, Preschool Child School Development, English 1 Advanced Honors, English 2 Honors, AP Language and Composition, Biology Honors, Chemistry Honors, AP Physics 1, Spanish 2 Honors, Spanish 3 Honors, 4 Honors, Geometry Honors, Algebra 2 honors, pre-calculus honors, world history honors, AP US 1, AP US History 2, and driver's education. This young man boasts a grade point average of 101.02, and he has an SAT math score of 770 and a verbal score of 750. In the subject test, in the math 2, he scored 700, and in physics, he scored a 670. Now, he's just not about the books. As you notice, he is involved in the chorus. So he's involved in the theater club as the vice president. He's also involved with the VTC student board. He's the historian. He's in the NJDFL. He's the captain. He's also involved with Lowe's Urban Dance, the Math League, Students Alliance, and Goju-Ryu Karate. He's an assistant instructor. Some of the honors he's received includes being a member of the National Honor Society, the Rho Kappa Honor Society, Tri-M Music Honor Society, the Spanish Honor Society, the International Thespian Society, the Governor's School of Engineering and Technology for 2019. He's also been on the Distinguished Honor Roll from 2016 up until the present, and he's on the Honor Roll for this year. He's received also the English 2 Honors Award for 2018, as well as the Outstanding Direction for One Act Festivals in 2018. His community activities includes being a member of Student Alliance, a karate assistant with instruction, a dance assistant supervisor, as well as being a part of the VTC student board. His cultural and religious activities includes being a member of the St. Andrew's Church Choir. And his work experience involves him working with the VTC summer camp as a counselor for the 2017-2018 years. Now, I've said enough about him. Now, I'll let him talk to you about his career aspirations and where he's going to take his talents beyond Eastern Regional High School.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Toll, for the introduction. And obviously, this is a very big honor. I'd like to thank my friends and family who got me through everything and have taught me and raised me to be who I am. But as I go on and leave Eastern to Stevens Institute of Technology up in Hoboken, I'll be pursuing a degree in mechanical engineering, hopefully a job in that field and the surrounding area or back around here. But I'd like to thank all of the teachers who taught me everything I know and got me to the point where I am. And especially through Eastern, they have a lot of really dedicated educators, and I'd like to take the time just to thank a couple of the people who inspired me and taught me. So I think all of the teachers, especially the ones at the AP level at Eastern, really have a drive to teach their children to learn and to teach their students to be students in every sense of the word. Students have to be dedicated, but they have to be willing to learn. And that's not something that is easy to teach. It's something that has to be instilled and fostered within the student themselves. And particularly in the science and history fields here at Eastern, there are all of my teachers were without any problem. For science, I had Miss Mahaka for biology and Miss Cooper for chemistry. But Mr. Tapper, who taught me physics last year, really inspired a passion for me, which led me to choose my major. Up until then, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, either at the high school or middle school level. But it wasn't until I started learning physics with Mr. Tapper that I decided that I wanted to do something in that field, just because of the way he taught me and the way he related the concepts that we were learning to the physical world. And to build up on top of that foundation that Mr. Tapper taught, Mr. Friedman has showed me that once you know the material yourself, it doesn't really matter what the outside knows. He knows that he is very smart, and he's teaching to a group of people who really fundamentally understand him. And that's something that I really aspire to have in myself. And additionally, in the history fields, particularly Mr. Thompson, though I didn't always agree with his opinions, especially at the AP level, he's always open to have a discourse and hear out his students, which is something really important. And also Mr. Colton, though I didn't have him as a teacher personally, as a coach for the NJDFL season the past couple years, he's really instilled a lot of qualities in me to be a better person and a better leader and a better at communicating with those around me. The students and the teachers at Eastern have really made me into the person I am, and I wouldn't be anywhere without them or the staff and administration like you, Dr. Toll. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to what's to come.
Okay, let me see if I can bring up the students of the month. I mean the representatives. Mr. Smart, I'm not seeing that one in the queue. Do you have that one?
I'm not seeing it as well. I'm looking for it at the same time. Let me see what I can do.
All right, so on that one, let's see if we could come back to that at the second public opening of the meeting. So if you could work on that one for us, Mr. Smart. All right, so Mr. Chico, let's please.
Yes. At this time, we will open the meeting to the members of the public. You should be seeing a phone number on the bottom of the screen, which I do not see. Oh, there we go. If anyone wishes to call in with a question or comment, please do so. We'll wait a couple of minutes for any phone calls coming in. Are we seeing any activity? Mr. Smart?
I have not, no. We're still at 19 people.
Okay.
So we'll give it another 30 seconds. Okay, let's move on because I do not see anyone trying to buzz in.
All right. At this point, I will close the meeting to the public and move into purchases and investments. Need a motion to approve items 1 through 8.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. Are there any discussion on items 1 through 8? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Chow,
Yes.
Mrs. David,
Yes.
Mr. Dykert,
Yes.
Mrs. Garr,
Yes.
Mrs. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. DeChico,
Yes. Okay, under matters of personnel, motion to approve items 1 through 13.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
I just wanted to mention on number 2, it's maybe a little unusual, but our transportation coordinator is an 11-month position. And so we're asking you here to just add one more month. That's going to be the month of July. Normally, that position wasn't in July. And the reason we're doing that is my administrative assistant, Deborah Kane, is retiring June 30th. So this is one of the positions that we're holding off on filling until we know our state aid situation. And Mrs. Mason has agreed to try to fill that position partially. And we're also redistributing a lot of those duties into other team members at the board office. So it is a trial, but Mrs. Mason is very enthusiastic about giving it a try. And so it's really just one additional month, again, for our planning for any possible state aid reductions.
Okay. Any other comments? A roll call, please.
Mrs. Chow?
Yes.
Mrs. David?
Yes.
Mr. Dykert?
Yes.
Mrs. Garr?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. DeChico?
Yes. Education, Gail?
May I have a motion to approve items 1 through 4, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. Any questions on items 1 through 4? Roll call, please.
Mrs. David?
Yes.
Mr. Dykert?
Yes.
Mrs. Garr?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Chow?
Yes.
Mr. DeChico?
Yes. Okay, we have no items under policy. Athletics, Bob?
May I have a motion for items 1 through 3?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
I'm
Excuse me.
showing
1
I'm
through
showing
4.
4.
Correct.
Yes.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any questions or comments on items 1 through 4? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Dykert?
Yes.
Mrs. Garr?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Chow?
Yes.
Mrs. David?
Yes.
Mr. DeChico?
Yes. Student activities, Ms. Parker.
May I have a motion to approve item 1, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any questions on item 1?
How's that
Roll
work?
call, please. Say that again, Dennis.
How does that work? Spring musical, was there one?
Oh, this is for,
No, it was
Is
for
it the year
it was
that-
for this year. It was an oversight.
ratify and affirm.
Yeah. Mrs. Bound was in the position, but it was an oversight that it had not been recommended. Her schedule had changed with the change in teachers, and that was not approved at the time. It should have been approved. So this is for the spring musical, and we were up to the final rehearsal before the spring musical was canceled.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garr?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Chow?
Yes.
Mrs. David?
Yes.
Mr. Dykert?
Yes.
Mr. DeChico?
Yes. Finance, Bob?
Now, please have a motion for items 1 through 30.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any comments? What is the Omni Financial Group do for us?
They handle our 403B program.
Okay.
So they make sure that the disbursements are sent to the companies and credited to the student accounts or the employee accounts.
Okay. Tell Hillary it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah. I tried to mute it, but I wasn't fast enough.
And also under lunch prices,
Mhm.
what is a friend's meal for 30 cents?
Well, it's more than that. It's 30 cents in addition. And the reason,
Okay.
so
I
if a
understand that.
student pays for another student's meal, we don't get any reimbursement for that meal. So we get reimbursements from the state and the federal government for the meals that we serve. So because we don't get any reimbursements, then the full cost, there's a larger charge because it's one student buying 2 meals.
Okay. Like a Bojo.
So we do lose some funding when one student buys 2 meals. So.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments on items 1 through 30?
No.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Chow,
Yes.
Mrs. David,
Yes.
Mr. Dykert,
Yes.
Mrs. Garr,
Yes.
Mr. DeChico.
Yes. Mr. Diker, property.
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve item 1 with the use of facilities?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yeah, how are we going to handle this with our COVID? What will determine if the facilities are open or not?
Well, we'll be going through the guidelines. Indoor activities are still limited. The maximum number of persons permitted in a large room, so let's say the cafeteria or the auditorium, is capped at 50. So that's the overall limitation on indoor activities.
Oh.
So any program above that cannot occur at this time indoors. Outdoors, things are changing with the governor opening things like swimming pools and youth camps and youth sports. So we are hopeful that outdoor activities, primarily outdoor activities, so some of the camps like the soccer camp or the volleyball camp that could be now run outdoors. It was redesigned so it could be outdoors. So we're hoping those will occur this summer. I know we had a parent last meeting ask about the marching band, and we're hopeful that marching band will occur. At a conversation with our marching band director, and he's on top of things, participating in national organizations, and he already has a plan to hold marching band. So we're hopeful that will occur in August. So with all the guidance and regulations that have put out there, they're very strict in what we have to be able to do to make sure things are disinfected. And, even with outdoor activities, it's really use of restrooms that becomes highly regulated under the guidance. But we are working to, our general philosophy is anything that we are permitted to do, we will work to make it possible. We will start in July with our ESY programs in the remote phase, and we will see, learn from other districts, have conversations with other districts, and look at our capacity. And as Mrs. Schiraldi mentioned, invest in some PPE. We've already invested in some, but I think there's additional PPE that we're going to be looking to purchase that would support some of these activities as well. So, but at this point, indoor activities are capped at 50. So some of our larger facility uses at this time cannot be approved. But there's a few items on the list that are there on a contingency basis. So if anything changes, and as I've learned, things change from day to day. We go from no information to things being wide open the next day. So we are approving everything that we are able to approve. And if circumstances change, ready to go. And that's true with our sports programs and our activities. So we did not approve those positions either at the May board meeting or the June board meeting. But if we are permitted with sports practices, let's say beginning in August, we will ratify and affirm those positions in August. So sports could resume as well. So everything is being done on contingency, and we're ready to go when the regulations and orders allow us to go.
Thank you, Robert.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Chow,
Yes.
Mrs. David,
Yes.
Mr. Dykert,
Yes.
Mrs. Garr,
Yes.
Mrs. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Chico.
Yes. Under committee reports, executive planning, Jude.
Only thing to report is the Mr. Verrill's contract was approved by the county, and I guess we approved it tonight. Is that right, Diana?
That's correct.
And so that's it.
Okay. Under negotiations, we will discuss it briefly in executive session. The contract has been ratified by the association. So unless there's any disagreements, we will ratify it after our executive session. Technology, Mrs. Garr.
Okay, there were 19 items, but I will just read the ones I think are the most interesting. We broadcast 2 board meetings, Board of Education meetings using Google Meet and YouTube streaming. We examined video conferencing platforms for live remote instruction, and they recommend the use of Zoom as a pilot during ESY instruction. And they provided resources for teachers during remote learning on a remote school day resource page, created a class of 2020 celebration page, conducted the iPad exiting event, producing video segments for the virtual graduation and virtual awards. And we are working or have worked with Herf Jones to coordinate the submission of student information for the virtual graduation and awards night. And as we saw already tonight, we had videotaping and editing for job coaching luncheon, Scholars of the Month, Student Reps of the Month, and Class of 2020 photo opportunity. And we did see that they transferred technology to the new Ella. So that will be installed and that'll be ready to go, and we're ready to go.
Yep.
And that's it.
Okay. Bob, Camden County School Boards.
Yeah, I did view a couple of you attending the meeting. It was held virtually last Thursday. Pam Lampett was in attendance there. She gave a good talk, and she had some question to answer period. And that's about it.
Okay. New Jersey School Board, sorry.
I haven't heard anything. Gail would know more than I, but I have not been given any information.
Right.
The delegate assembly's coming up, right? You're going to do that?
I don't have any information on that whatsoever.
Okay, I'll touch base with you because it's going to be virtual.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Okay, Municipal Alliance, Elena.
I just wanted to thank the Project Graduation Committee for doing a tremendous job getting the gift bags together for our students. They spent about $26,000 on a $50 gift card from TD Bank for every student. It's over 500 students graduating. They also bought a Wawa gift card. But in addition, there were a lot of vendors around town who contributed. So I just want to list some of those vendors: Rodizio and Friendly's, Wawa and Gibbsboro, and Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, Rita's Water Ice, McDonald's, and Jersey Mike's. They also bought T-shirts for all the students. And as you know, they'll be distributing the bags tomorrow or pick up the following day. I forgot a couple people. Genevieve Haldeman gave some gift certificates, and Michelle Nacito also was able to secure a lot of gift certificates. So there were about 30 students who got an extra $30 or $50 in addition. So it was kind of a surprise. It will be a surprise.
Right. Random students, they said. They just
Randomly.
randomly picked the bags, right?
I'd like to thank Mr. Pico for helping to coordinate the stuffing of the bags. You were very helpful. Thank you. And that's it. Thanks.
Okay, Ed Services, Veronica.
We had the Board of Directors annual election, and I'm happy to say Eastern was once again selected as a member of the board for the incoming year. And that's about it.
Okay. Anything on the library, Gail?
No, I have nothing to report.
Okay. All right, the technology report, student activities and guidance activity reports are also available. Do we have any items for old business? Do we have any items for new business?
I just want to say this is Mrs. Schiraldi's last board meeting.
No.
Oh, wait, don't say anything else because I already have a speech.
Oh, you have a speech.
Oh.
Okay.
We're
So
going to
I
miss
will,
her so much.
I will turn it over to you then.
All right, I was going to do it in the public session. But,
Okay.
Do we have films, by the way, for the student reps or not?
I received the clarification. Their video was last month. It's the same student reps from May. So the full video was shown last May. So Dr. Toll and Mrs. Cox clarified that for me.
All right. Okay, at this time, I will open the meeting to the members of the public. There will be a phone number available if you would like to call in. But I do have a public comment. As we all know, Mrs. Schiraldi, our business administrator and board secretary, is retiring, and this will be her last official board meeting. I would like to personally, and on behalf of the board, extend our best wishes on her retirement. I would like to thank Diana for the time that she has given to Eastern as our BA, and also the efforts in assisting all the board members as our board secretary. I know we're a high maintenance group, but you've done an excellent job. And although she's only been with us for 5 years, she has spent many years in education and has justly earned a well-deserved retirement. So while we cannot celebrate tonight, no cake, I do want to wish her and Nick a very happy and healthy retirement. So,
Hear, hear.
Thank
Here,
you,
here.
Bob.
There you go.
We'll miss you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed my
Congratulations,
5
Dan.
years. It went so quickly. It just went like that. And I really, it's been a pleasure to work with all of you. You've always been so supportive and encouraging, and you make everybody excel at their jobs. So thank you to you all for making this a wonderful, wonderful 5 years. And I am going to.
It seems like longer. It seems like you've always been here. You've left a very large footprint on our hearts
Yeah,
and
Fred
everything
who?
else.
Oh,
Rob, I didn't mean to cut you off. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, absolutely. And certainly in my first year here, Mrs. Schiraldi has, in this position, has been wonderful. Always there with expert advice and wisdom. And, the business office runs so beautifully, the entire staff. So just a great presence that we'll be missing. But like you said, she's been so involved from the educational side, not just the business side. From the very first year she was here, she was always a participant at district advisory, always presenting and speaking with our parents and our students. So that will be missed very much. So like you said, we wish her the best. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, everyone.
Any phone calls? Actually, the number didn't come up on the screen. Oh, there we
Okay,
go.
looks like it just came up.
Yeah. Give it a minute or two.
Yes. Mr. Smart is giving the go ahead, and I did not see anyone ring in myself. So please, Mr.
All right.
Chico.
At this time, the meeting is open and closed to the members of the public. I need a motion authorize an executive session for collective bargaining discussions and
So moved.
other items.
Second.
Moved and second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Chow,
Yes.
Mrs. David,
yes.
Mr. Dykert,
Yes.
Mrs. Gar,
Yes.
Mrs. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Chico.
Yes. Do you need to send another link out?
Yes, I will create another meeting. So this one will close out, and I will create it and send the invitation to you. And it's 8:16, so let's say 8:25. We'll start the next meeting.
Okay.
Executive session.
Very
And
good.
we will return to public session.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
so Mr. Smart, are you aware of that?
I was not.
All right. So we'll have to keep the YouTube live. So
Okay.
actually, can you stay in this session?
I will stay in this session. Yes.
So we'll come back to this Google Meet. So for everyone here, we'll return to this Google Meet. But for the executive session, that will be a separate one. Okay. So you can
Do I
close
need
out
to
of
call
this.
back in on that?
Yes, you'll call back in on the executive session, and then when we come back to this Google Meet, it'll still be active because Mr. Smart is staying in the
Oh.
meeting. So the meeting stays live as long as someone stays in the meeting. So Mr. Smart will be the person to stay live in this session. Okay.
Okay.
Lucky Phil.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
So we close out now?
Close out now. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Dennis Dykert here. Rob, can you hear me? Hello, anybody home? Hello. Are we in our session yet? Are we in executive session yet? Can anyone hear me? Hello?
All right. Mr. DeChico, we are back.
Okay.
Others are joining.
We're back.
Call Dennis directly. Let me call Dennis directly.
And they're still recorded. Yeah.
Yes.
Bob, I apologize. We were running a little late there.
That's okay.
The recorded one that we are putting on our website after these meetings is the YouTube version.
Okay.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Dennis is here.
All right, we have Dennis. So let me see.
Hillary was looking how to get out of what she was doing.
Let me all right, now we are live. So just so you know that we are live. I'm going to send invites to anyone I don't see at this point.
It's Elena, Bob Campbell. There's Elena. There's Hillary.
We got Hillary. All right, so it's Mr. Campbell.
Elena's on.
I'm here.
All right, we have Hillary.
And Veronica.
Veronica.
When you have several Google accounts, by default, my regular Gmail account comes up.
Oh, can't hear you.
Elena, that was killing me on the earlier meeting. I had to join twice, once on the iPad, once on my laptop. Yeah. And I realized it was because it was mixed, confusing Gmail accounts.
Yeah, comes up by default.
Also add Anthony.
Is that Anthony 82 phone number?
Not sure. Not the one I have.
Okay, let me see.
It's on mute, so I'm not sure.
Is that Veronica maybe?
Yes.
Ah,
Yes, it's
okay.
Veronica.
Terrific. Yes. Okay. All right, and Anthony's there, so we're looking. So Mr.
Bob Campbell.
Yeah. All right, so let me try calling him this time.
Hello?
Mr. Campbell?
Yes, I got
All right.
kicked out and it won't let me back in.
All right, well, you're back live on the phone, so we'll keep you this
Okay.
way. So we are live on YouTube, just to let you know. So
Okay,
we
thank
have
you.
everyone now, so we are good to go.
All right. Diana, would you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Brown,
Present.
Mr. Campbell,
Here.
Mrs. Chow,
Here.
Mrs. David, Mrs. David,
Microphone is
Her
we go.
microphone's off.
Here.
Mr. Dykert,
Here.
Mrs. Garr,
Jeez.
Mrs. Garr,
Here.
Here.
Mr. Paul,
Yeah, I'm here.
and Mr. DeChico.
Here. Okay, we need a motion to accept the negotiations committee recommendation and the contract that
So
was agreed
moved.
to with the.
Second.
Is there any further discussion on that contract?
No.
Diana, you can word that any way.
Okay.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Chow,
Yes.
Mrs. David, Mrs. David,
Yes.
Mr. Dykert,
Yes.
Mrs. Gar,
Yes.
Mrs. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. DeChico.
Yes.
Bob, do we need a motion to come out of executive session first or no?
I did put one down. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
We did that
Jude.
with the roll
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, when we were enclosed, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
We're good.
Jude?
Okay. So do we need motions, Rob, for the other two items that were discussed in executive?
You don't need a motion with respect to the
Second.
charges.
Okay.
You
No
do not need a
motion at
motion.
all.
Not with respect to the science teacher.
Okay. Nothing there. And then what about the request for payment of the staff member? Do we need a motion?
Motion to
because
deny.
we're spending money. So
Correct.
Anytime we're spending money, roll call.
Okay.
But we're denying it, right?
Right.
Right. We're
Correct.
denying the request.
Money.
Right. I think we should do a motion just to deny the request.
Yeah,
So
you have to
moved.
do a motion. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
So
moved.
it's a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent to deny the request for payment as discussed in executive session.
So moved.
Correct.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. And roll call.
Mrs. Chow,
Yes.
Mrs. David,
Yes.
Mr. Dykert, Mr. Dykert,
Dennis is muted.
Yes. Sorry, I had it on mute.
Mrs. Gar,
Yes.
Mrs. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. DeChico.
Yes.
So, should I request a motion, Diana or Bob,
For
evaluation, superintendent evaluation, annual performance report?
Okay. Do we have to submit one, Jude?
Yes.
Oh,
It's gotta
okay.
be signed. Yeah.
Okay.
So can I have a motion to approve the superintendent annual performance report?
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
Yep. Okay. We have a first and second.
Questions? And roll call.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Chow,
Yes.
Mrs. David, Mrs. David,
Yes.
Mr. Dykert,
Yes.
Mrs. Gar,
Yes.
Mrs. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. DeChico.
Abstain.
Okay.
And did we need anything on the letter that was being sent for the teacher?
No. No, you don't need anything. That's
Do we
just
have
from
to-
the secretary.
Do we have to approve the recommendation of the superintendent or no?
No, because the board has to make a determination once it has all the facts. from both individuals. You can do a motion approving the recommendation of the superintendent to send the statement of evidence and the affidavit from the superintendent to the employee. You could do that. But you can't vote on that until you have both sides. And that would be in the August 19th meeting.
I'm just trying to determine, to send her the letter, what do we need from the board?
Well, I can't hear people.
Wait, Bob, say that again?
In order to authorize Diana to send the letter, do we need anything from the board?
What?
Yes, you can
Just go ahead and
you
do it.
can do, exactly, you can do a motion, okay, to allow Diana to send the letter based on the recommendation of the superintendent to the employee with respect to tenure change. Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay. Any other discussion? And roll call.
Okay. Mrs. David,
Yes.
Mr. Dykert,
Yes.
Mrs. Gar,
Yes.
Mrs. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Paul, Mr.
His
Paul,
His mic's off.
Raise your hand if it's yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Chow,
No.
Yes.
Mr. Uchiko.
Yes. Okay, do we have any other topics for discussion this evening? Our next meeting is August the 19th at 7:30. I want to wish everyone a happy and healthy summer. And we need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, healthy.
So made.
Thank you, Bob. You too.
Thank you, Diana.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Diana.
See you,
Thank you,
Diana.
Diana.
Miss you.
Bye, Diana.
Don't have
Thank you,
to-
Diana.
Talk tomorrow.
I'll see you for cake sometime.
Yeah.
For
We'll
sure.
all
All
have
right.
to meet when we
All right.
can.
All right. Good night.
All right. Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Good
Good
night.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Nick
night.
and Phil, for sticking around. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Good night.
Everyone
Thank
stay
you, Phil.
safe.
I know.
Bye.
Bye.